2 weeks ago, we started this process of getting a better understanding of where our money is spent with the budgeting clarity tool. We took 3 months of credit card and debit card and all charges statements and got a feel for what categories we're spending our money on, where's our money going in general. And a lot of that really had a focus on our personal spending. A lot of the categories went into how we were spending money on food and clothing and what we called those WTF expenses. There was one section, though, if you remember, that zeroed in specifically on business expenses. And I want for us to take that work that we had done to get clarity over the various categories and take some time to really dive into the business expense category. So now that we have the clarity over what is getting spent in that category, now we need to take a magnifying glass and really take a deeper look at what's worth spending our money on in that category and what we could trim away at. There's an acronym that we're going to use for this. You may have heard it before. This is not original to me, called KRONC. KRONC, not KRONC for my millennials here. We're not getting KRONC, we're getting KRONC. KRONC is KRONC. And what this stands for is K is keep. Keep means these are the expenses that are worth maintaining. This is really stuff that we're looking for, our 4-to-1 return on investment. These are essential subscriptions that we use day in, day out. These are client event parties that make a massive difference with the way that our clients are loved on. These are marketing tools that bring in obvious, clear business. So K is for keep. R is going to be for replace. Replace is where we're going to zero in a little bit more deeply and look at, is there a more efficient tool, a less expensive thing that we can utilize that will do the same thing, but at a cheaper cost? So looking to see, is there something we can replace one expense with for another? Or even, are there tools that we have that are redundant, where one tool can do the exact same thing as another that we're paying for both of them? Let's get rid of one of those. Offset is going to be anything that we get to look at and say, by having this, by doing this thing, I'm offsetting the cost of this other expense. So one of these that I love to look at, for example, is a lot of our administrative folks do a wonderful job of offsetting their expense. I like to think of that truly as an investment into a person, into a resource, by bringing in referrals. So they're offsetting their salary by bringing in business into the team. So looking for things like that on the offset side. Negotiate. We all know this one well. As salespeople, we should be pretty darn good at this. This is calling into our services that we utilize in negotiating those costs, negotiating those service fees, or finding ways to cut that spend down. Got a lot of folks, for example, who commit their business to one particular photographer for listings and whatnot. And through committing their business through the entirety of the year to that photographer, the photographer is willing to give a discounted rate as a package, for example. And then lastly, there are some things that we just straight up need to cut. We're not utilizing them. They're not bringing us a 4-to-1 return on investment. They're just bloat, and we need to get rid of them. This is going to be looking at it from a technology standpoint, looking at it from a physical goods and services standpoint that we may be purchasing and not utilizing, or they just don't bring us value. This also could be a personnel standpoint as well. I'm seeing, especially with the shift in the market, we and not just us as realtors, but lots of companies had a bloat with personnel where we could get by with a whole lot less, to be frank. What I tend to find to be the most effective with this is that our administrative person, operations manager, director of operations, or a burgeoning director of operations and administrative assistant, executive assistant, pulling someone in who has a less subjective eye, a more objective approach to this, who isn't as emotionally committed to all of the expenses that we have committed ourselves to, does a great job with helping with our KRONC method. Especially if they have any type of bonus associated with profit, they're going to make darn sure that we have as profitable a company as humanly possible, and are going to take this KRONC activity really seriously. So pull out your P&L. Let's paw back through, especially we've just closed up shop on 2023. This is a great time of year to kind of look back through and see what's effective use of spend and what's not. And let's KRONC through our P&L to figure out where we can get some additional savings in through 2024.